based on how I'm dressed, I feel like a new intro would be fitting for this video. Now that that's out of the way, today we're talking about the 2020 draft, more importantly, or more specifically, the quarterbacks. And when I say the quarterbacks, not every quarterback in the draft, not even 10, the top. The guys that are potentially going to be drafted in the first round, which there are 4 of them. Obviously, Joe Burrow, everyone pretty much thinks he's going to be the number 1 pick. You have Tua, who's going to be somewhere in the top 5. You got Justin Herbert, and you have Jordan Love, who is the wild card out of Utah State. Those are the 4 guys that people think could and probably will be drafted in the first round. And then you have another wild card in Jacob Eason, but I'm not really going to dive into him. But in this draft class, it scares me. It really does. Like I don't see it the way everyone else sees it. I don't think there's a can't miss prospect. There's no Andrew Luck. There's no Peyton Manning. There's no Trevor Lawrence, honestly, in this one. So it's tough. I know everyone right now is on Joe Burrow. Me, I've seen too many quarterbacks come out after having, one big year, and don't want to discredit Joe Burrow. He had the biggest of years, the biggest year that any quarterback has ever had in college football history. Like, he just killed it. 60 touchdowns. No one's ever done it. National championship, Heisman, cleaned up. Best college football season of all time. So it's not like that. But, I mean, we've had guys that have just come out of nowhere recently, like a Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles came out of nowhere. Probably going to go 6th round undrafted, has a big year at UCF. I think they ended up undefeated. They were in one of the big 4 bowls. I think it might have been while the BCS was still going on. I can't be certain of that. But he comes out, has a big year. UCF has a good year and ends up being the 3rd overall pick. Now he's a backup. I'm not even sure if he's on a team right now. So those 1-year guys really... the one's not sticking out in my mind that really had one big year and then parlayed it into a good NFL career. I'm sure there probably is one, but I can't think of one. Where I see it, though, Joe Burrow, right now, watching his interviews and some of the antics he did, and nothing bad. Like, he's not... When I say this... When I give this comparison, he strikes me as more of a Baker Mayfield, whereas... Baker Mayfield had a good rookie year, ended up in every commercial that you could possibly think of, didn't have a great second year. Baker Mayfield strikes me as someone who wants to be a star outside of football, right? He wants to be good football, but he wants to be a star outside of football, wants to be in commercials, wants to have TV show appearances, and it's too early on in the career, really hasn't done anything. Joe Burrow strikes me as one of those guys, someone who would want to do that, based on some of the things he did after the national champ with the cigar and the hat that he wore and things like that. Like, he knew that was going to generate buzz, has nothing to do with football. Strikes me that he has some interest outside of football, which, good on you. I mean, strike the iron while it's hot. But comparing that same draft class, that Baker draft class, I like Sam Darnold. I'd rather have a guy more like Sam Darnold. That's Tua. Tua, by the books, straight and narrow, not trying to be a star. Doesn't seem like he's trying to be a star outside of it. Football. Now, granted, so far, Sam Darnold leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of that competitive juice. So a good happy medium between Baker and Sam Darnold in that draft class. Well, 2 guys, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, competitor to the highest of levels. Josh Allen appears to be that way too, just from some of his interviews. Don't seem like they have interests outside of football, like they're trying to be stars outside of football. They're just trying to be really good at football and win football games and win Super Bowls. That's what it seems like, and that's their focus, but they'll tell you that that's what they're going to do. They'll tell you that they're going to outwork you. They have a chip on their shoulder. They respect the game, but they're coming. They're coming at you. So I kind of want a guy like that, kind of happy medium. But Joe Burrow strikes me more as a Baker Mayfield, interest outside of football, wants to be a star. Tua Tagovailoa, straight and narrow, straight-laced. But man, not gonna lie, if Tua didn't have the hip thing, I would take him all day over Joe Burrow. If he didn't have so many injuries, not even just the hip thing, the ankle, the knee, all those problems, I would take him over Joe Burrow. This goes back to the first time I ever saw him play, which, ironically, it was a Troop Day. We were watching the national championship game 3 years ago at Chuff's house, me, Chuff, and Tanner. And this kid comes in out of nowhere, true freshman, the second half of a national championship game. And when he threw that touchdown, I don't know if it was to tie it up or to give them the lead, where he looked the safety off and then threw like a 40-yard rope down the other for a touchdown, take the lead or to tie the game. I don't remember the scenario. That was it. I was sold. I'm like, this kid's going to be a stud in the NFL. I take him tomorrow. Then he started to get hurt. Now there's some questions. Now I'm a little weary of it, especially with the ankle and the knee would make me weary, but now the hip, I mean, his hip broke through his hip socket. Like, it broke through his pelvis. You know what I mean? So even if he gets cleared, who's to say that someone lands on him that doesn't just pop right back out? So, but man, he throws the ball. He doesn't have like a big-time arm, doesn't have a Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers arm, but he gets the ball out. It's accurate. Spiral looks nice. Maybe it just looks nice because he's a lefty and I'm not used to seeing it. But I like Tua, but with the injuries, question marks. Justin Herbert, man, he's got it all. He's big. He's got a cannon. People talk about his athleticism. He ran a 4.69 at the combine, which had to be one of the faster times. The kid's an athlete. The knock on him is people aren't really sure if he's all in football. So if you're not all in football, I don't know if I really want you to be my franchise quarterback. If I was a fan of a team like the Chargers, probably might potentially take him. I'm not sure if I want Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? The kid's got all the tools. If he gets the right coaching, gets in the right system, maybe if he doesn't have to play right away, like if the Colts take him to sit behind Phillip Rivers, they don't have a first-round pick, so never mind. That's not going to happen. Strike that. But if he sits behind someone, if he can sit behind someone and learn from a veteran, even he doesn't even have to sit. If he can learn from a veteran, I think he'll be in a good spot because he's got all the physical tools. But a lot of quarterbacks in the past have had all the physical tools, and it just hasn't panned out. But he could definitely be good. But again, I'm not so sure on him. Comes from Oregon. You know, I'll leave it at that. I don't know what the defenses are like in the Pac-12. Has made some poor decisions in terms of football. When you watch some games, you're like, what? This is the guy that's potentially the first overall pick? But then he makes a dime of a throw, and you're like, I can see it. And the other guy, Jordan Love, never watched a single one of his games. All I hear is that he is kind of like Patrick Mahomes. Big, athletic, arm, throws from all the platforms. Not a big-time school. Much like Patrick Mahomes coming from Texas Tech, he's coming from Utah State. Can throw the ball a mile. I have watched some highlights of Jordan Love. Never watched him play live. Never went back and watched any games. I'm not a game tape guy. I see highlights and make my determination off that. That's why I don't scout quarterbacks. I just like quarterbacks. But I read an article on him before he was even like early on in the year, first couple weeks, and just what he went through in his younger life. And I'm like, I started to root for him. So I think it was an ESPN article. If you could go back and find that, it's a bit of a longer one, but it's a good read. But when I started reading that article, I read that article, I'm like, yep, I'm a fan of this kid. Hope he kills it. I've kept tabs on him all year. Didn't have a great year in college, but he's got all the talent, can get into the right system. Hopefully, again, if he could get the Patrick Mahomes treatment, like Patrick Mahomes is super talented, but if he didn't get drafted where he got drafted, who knows where he would be. He got drafted into the perfect situation. He got drafted into a playoff team, the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were a playoff team. and he got to sit behind a pros pro and Alex Smith for a year, and his coach was Andy Reid. You can't get drafted into a better situation. So now, if Jordan Love gets drafted to the Saints, look out. Look out, kid's going to be a stud. A team like that with a good coach, good offensive mind, not afraid to try some things, good culture, and a good team. Right? Joe Burrow's going to go to an awful team. So how's that going to work out for him? Tua is either going to go, people are saying the line's going to go to the Dolphins. Dolphins started to get better, so he might have a chance. And if he gets to sit a year behind Fitzpatrick for the whole year, he might have he's going to have a chance because the Dolphins are getting better. But if Jordan Love goes later in the first round, goes to a good team with a veteran quarterback, playoff team, or a team that's right on the cusp that he can sit for a year, look out. Then I think 100% he could beat Patrick Mahomes because of the situation he gets drafted into. I'm not sure if Patrick Mahomes would be Patrick Mahomes if he didn't get drafted into the situation that he got drafted into, and who could be sure that that would be the case. The kid's super talented. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan. I was holding on to the fact that Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none, could do things that other guys can't, until Patrick Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns and got an MVP, and now I'm like, guy's probably better than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers also 36. Give me 2011 Aaron Rodgers, compare him to Patty Mahomes. I don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Aaron Rodgers 37 now. But quarterbacks really scare me this year. Get back on topic. Quarterbacks kind of scare me. But there is one, as a Packers fan, if we get him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round later in the draft, I want Jalen Hurts, man. He strikes me. He just has, they talk about the it factor. He's got it. I don't know what it is. He doesn't have a big-time arm. He's not Lamar Jackson. Let's get that out of the way. He's not that. He ran a 4.59. I think Lamar Jackson, if he actually ran a 40, would have been in the 4.4s. Lamar Jackson is so shifty. Jalen Hurts is trying to run fast and run you over. So he's more of a straight line guy, almost like Robert Griffin was. Robert Griffin wasn't super shifty. He was just fast in a straight line. That's kind of like Jalen Hurts. Robert Griffin was probably faster, but Jalen Hurts, straight line, he's going to try to run you over. He's more Cam Newton, a smaller Cam Newton, which is the problem. As you can tell, with Cam Newton, his body is broken down over 8 or 9 years. So you don't want Jalen Hurts, a smaller, not 6'6", 250-pound guy doing the same thing. But man, the leadership, you listen to him in interviews, you know he can command grown men. He's 23, I think. He is pretty much a grown man. He can command the leadership from guys that are much smarter than me. Said he was throwing the ball much better at the combine. Some things that they saw on tape in college. Cleaned up a little bit in the combine. Again, you need a certain amount of hours. The law of specificity. When guys are coming at you, you're going to revert back to what you know. Your body's just going to do what it knows. So, it scares me. But he's a guy, if I can get him in the 3rd, 4th round, I'm excited. If I'm a Packers fan and we get Jalen Hurts in the 3rd or 4th round, he can sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 2-3 years, and we could get some packages like a Taysom Hill, that would excite me. Long story short, this was a long video. Got nowhere. Gist of it, I'm not a fan of this year's quarterback class. It's a very unknown quarterback class, and there might be 4 of them drafted in the 1st round, maybe 5. There could be 5 in the 1st round. That's scary. Hopefully your team doesn't have to draft one of them in the 1st round this year. If they do, good luck.